Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and so excited. I have one of my favorite guests in studio with me, Anthony Lambatos of Footers Catering. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. It is so good to be here.
Yes, so glad to have you. It is beautiful outside.
It is.
Finally not raining. Yeah, I'm pretty bitter about that. I haven't had to worry about my summer body because there's been no summer.
The only thing that would make this better right now is a cold beer. So that's what we're missing.
You know, I'm going to get that. It's going to come in one day.
Next time, I'm going to hold you to it.
Awesome. Yes. So we are in full swing of summer.
Yep.
You were telling me that you guys just got back from the Aspen Wine Festival.
Food and Wine Classic in Aspen. It's always amazing. So much inspiration. And to be around the just culinary icons, it's so cool. And everybody's so excited to be there. And it's an incredible experience. We not only get to do the tent, but they have an event that coincides at Snowmass called Heritage Fire. And the chefs do, whole animal cooking on open fire that they have to build, which is so cool. And then they serve up these incredible dishes. So lots of fun.
Interesting. I don't think that I knew about that festival.
Yeah, it's like there's so much going on outside of just that. The parties, the events, it's insane. So
that is insane.
A good time.
That sounds like an amazing time. So it is June. So there's a lot going on this month. We know that, first of all, it is full into wedding season for you guys. It is Immigrant Heritage Month. This month it's also Pride Month. So lots of fun things to celebrate. And in conjunction with IHM Immigrant Heritage Month, we are actually hosting on June 28th Colorado Compact. It was a bipartisan effort to support immigration reform, which is long past due. It was created in 2012, so we're bringing that back up. But June 28th, we will be at MSU Denver. That's Metropolitan State University Denver. Register for that event at cobrt.com/events. Our keynote speakers are going to be Hikmet Ersek of Western Union, as well as Senator Michael Bennett. So we're going to get some good people in there to talk about it. So thank you for bearing with me through that little ad that I had going on.
Plug away. That's an amazing event.
Thank you very much. Very exciting stuff. You guys always do really cool things. So tell me about this float trip.
It's a little bit of a Footers tradition where we have found a stretch of the South Platte River. So it's not glamorous floating, don't get me wrong. But it is just a leisurely couple-hour float. And the farmhouse there at Breckenridge Brewery is kind of a good ending spot to get out and have some lunch. And we have the office all closed down on Monday for us to get together and do that as a team, and it should be a lot of fun. I know everybody's looking forward to it. And we were bummed last year there wasn't enough water in the river for us to do it. It looks pretty good. This year we're a little worried it might be on the other side of like too much, but we've been monitoring the water levels. So far we're in good shape, but we'll keep you posted.
Fantastic. Now, do you guys all tie together so you don't lose anybody?
Some people like the tying. Some people just, want to go on their own. Somebody was showing me the paddle they bought, so they can, like, if they get stuck in a little, pool, they can catch up to the group a little bit. So cool. People are excited.
Yeah, I used to just put on a life jacket and just float by myself, and I would have my cooler, my blow up cooler.
We have the floating coolers.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best way to do it. And as always, I have to remind everyone, if you're going to go floating, if you're going to go into the woods, if you pack it in, you pack it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Leave places cleaner than what you came in.
That's a must.
Yes. So tell me more. I would love to hear. We haven't talked about My Tribe in a little bit.
Yeah, My Tribe is awesome. We launched earlier this year in February, got a great response, and now we're really starting to see the companies come through and spend time with us. We had friends from Seattle come in last week, and they spent 2 days with us, and it was awesome being able to help them just go through, processes and what they were doing and what they wanted to do with their culture initiatives and how they wanted to really start. They're at a transitional phase where there's some things changing, and so how do they build upon that? It was really cool to work with them and for them to be intentional about how they're building their culture.
super exciting stuff.
Yes.
Have they given you their little review after?
Oh yeah, we've had a handful of people come already this year
Yeah.
that have just raved about the program and what we've created, and we know we're continuing to make it better, which is awesome.
Make it better every
every
day.
day. No pun intended there. It is my tribe for a reason. But yeah, we're excited about. We've got a number of people signed up for the rest of the summer, and so yeah, it's gonna be good.
You guys are swimming. You're floating, doing all the things. I
Footers
love
is
it.
rocking. We're doing awesome. It's wedding season. Our team's just doing incredible.
Yes.
And you know, I talk about the impact we get to make on people, and you know, we highlight that and talk about it. But it was apparent we got somebody who sent us an email, and it was a little bit scary. There was a shooting right over here. Just across from our building, and because of the teal, we got some maybe not so great press of how the proximity of it was. But we had one of our former brides from 2 years ago reach out to us and saying, you know, you guys made me feel so special and awesome on my big day. I wanted to show you love and support, and if there's anything I can do for you or your team, or if anything's happened, let me know. That, to me, you know, just meant the world. That a former client from 2 years ago was, you know, the wedding caterer, which a lot of people will just say, oh yeah, that's who catered our food, or don't even remember.
Right.
For her to remember us in a time where it could have been a scary situation was awesome. So
That is awesome. Oh, that's heartwarming to hear, right? Because you can get all the reviews in the world, but when something like that happens,
yeah.
oh, that's beautiful. So one of our partners is Colorado Biz Magazine, and they came out with a pretty cool article. They do top companies.
Yes.
And looky, who's a winner?
Finalist.
Oh, please. Winner. We'll change that to winner next month. That'll be fun. But yes, finalist.
No, it's a huge honor.
Yeah.
I mean, to be a finalist in the hospitality category for top company. Again, just our team is incredible at what they're doing, and it's such an honor to be recognized. So
Yeah. Well, congrats on that. And you know what? We should probably get the show started with our guest.
yeah, let's jump in and not leave David sitting over here. So I'm excited today because I've had a chance to get to know David Hughes over the past few months, and the thing that immediately struck me when I met you is somebody who is extremely genuine, and as I've gotten to know you even better, you are incredibly smart. And you tie this all together, you are one of the most humble people I know. I don't think, you know, the people that know you know this, but somebody on the outside, that just means you wouldn't have no idea the depth at which you bring so much passion and so much to not only your organization, but the communities you're involved with. So it's my pleasure to welcome David Hughes, president of BCER Engineering. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Yeah, the humble part, okay, I'll go with that.
Well, I know you wouldn't be one to brag about yourself, so I'm going to be the one that's going to do it for you a little bit. So let's jump right in, because we've had some good conversations, and David came over and had lunch with us at Footers, and we've had a lot of conversations about what we've done and what he's trying to do. Let's start at a high level on kind of what you think it takes to create a great place to work.
Well, I do have to say, you know, when I first met Anthony almost a year ago now, and we started talking about different things, and we were doing a step challenge at the time, and you had your monthly challenges, and it really intrigued me when he said, you know, for Footers, what if you create a company that's not known for being a catering company, but a company that's known for its culture? And the light bulb went off in my head, and I thought the same thing on an engineering side of things. And engineering can be a very dry business, but you know, and Anthony's had a chance to meet some of our folks, and we are thinking the same thing. What if we were known for our culture and not necessarily being an engineering company? So Footers has been an inspiration to us. And for a great place to work, you know, we had our offsite visioning meeting just about a year ago, and that was our vision, was to be a great place to work. And I think, Anthony, you would agree with me, it's not the ping pong tables and the foosball tables and the Thirsty Thursdays and all that stuff that we do that makes a great place to work. I mean, that's that's one part of it. But for us, a great place to work really starts on the first line of our mission statement, where we talk about true and honest relationships. And we say that believing in true and honest relationships are the keys to happiness and success, that we will strive for those type of relationships with all of our clients and all of our employees. And the tricky part with that I have found over the years is the true and honest part. And you have to be authentic. You have to be true to all your employees and all your clients, and there has to be that trust there. And to create a great place to work, you want to create a place where people can think for themselves. They can pursue the goals that they want. They have autonomy in the work that they do. And we've incorporated different things with that. We just implemented a policy this year that we call discretionary time off. And when I went to Denver Startup Week this past year, a lot of companies were talking about unlimited vacation. And it's sort of a radical idea, but in some sectors, in the smaller entrepreneurial startup sectors, it's not that radical of an idea. For us, it's a radical idea, but it's something we adopted.
That was tough for engineers to wrap their head around.
we still have to put guidelines in there as to, how do you request time off? How do you backfill for that? But it's part of, what people are looking for that autonomy and that flexibility in living their lives. We ask people so much these days to be connected with the laptops and the phones, and unfortunately they are. They're always on their laptops and their phones.
Yep.
And one of the issues that we have is not people slacking off, it's people working too much in a sense. So being a great place to work is giving them that autonomy to have flexibility to be able to work how they want to work and live how they want to work, and trust them to do that.
And it's worked out so far for you.
It's working out really well. We were a little nervous. Some of us were a little nervous when we started this, and I said, you know what, folks, in another year, let's see where we're at. And I bet you most people will take quote unquote vacations the same way they did over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change, but it gives them an ease of mind that they can be flexible, that, hey, I know I can take a Friday afternoon off if I need to take somebody to the dentist or something like that.
Right, exactly. They're going to make it up at some point.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up, because I've heard, by and large, it goes more to the other side, that people are so worried about people abusing the policy and taking too much that people don't take enough. That they're worried about taking too much.
We've actually written into our policy that it's required to take at least 20 days off a year, and those include holidays.
Sure.
And part of those 20 days, 5 of them have to be in a row.
Consecutive.
So
Love it.
Interesting.
The department directors are monitoring not the abuse of people taking too much time off, but hey, it's June now. Have you taken some time off yet this year?
And making sure that people do that, because it's important. And I'm so happy to hear that you put those parameters on it, because I think it takes some pressure off the employees. The initial thing is like, oh, this is so much anxiety for the owners, but really it's anxiety sometimes for the employees to not know what's okay, what's not okay.
Yeah.
If I take 21 days, is that okay?
Yep.
If I take 10 days, is that okay? So I love that you put some parameters on it. That's great.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to true and honest relationships, and that really creates the great place to work.
So it's interesting, true and honest relationships. Has that always been part of your mission?
That has been. So,
Okay.
Since, our company was founded in 1994, and our mission statement was written probably around 98, 99 or so, and that first line I always point to as, why do we do what we do? And it's for the happiness and success of all of our clients and employees, and the way we get there is through those true and honest relationships.
So I think this is really interesting, because this is something that you valued from day one. But this year, you decided to make this culture a priority. So what was missing between 94 when you started and basically 2019, where you've said, okay, we need to go back in here and identify what this means to us?
Yeah, I don't know if you would say there's anything missing, but as a company, BCER was 4 gentlemen that started the company back in 94, and we had that small startup feel for many, many years. And we'd take the ski train up to Winter Park. We would do a summer picnic. We do all sorts of activities, monthly birthday parties, and so we had all that. But now we're 100 people, and we're across four offices in 2 different states.
Wow.
And you get to that bureaucratic feel, and you have to deliberately go back and say, how do we retain this? How do we retain this feel? And we've also had a transition, a generational transition. The BCER have all retired, and I'm part of what I'd call the second generation. And that can be tough on a company.
Yes.
But it's also an opportunity, as you know, at Footers, to really redefine or reestablish what culture is all about.
And so let's talk a little bit about how you do that and how you get everyone on board, because how many partners do you have?
This scares people, but we have 18 owners within the company right now.
Yeah, 18 owners. So how do you first start with 18 owners, making sure they're all on the same page, and then get that message to 100 employees?
That is very challenging, and I'll have to say we've done a vision statement, a 5-year vision statement for the last 10 years or so. And the first time we did it, we did not include all the owners in that meeting.
Okay.
And it was a small group of us, and we said, this is our vision. And we went back to the other owners, and they said, well, that's your vision. That's not our vision. You know? So this time, and we worked with a facilitator, the same facilitator, and I said, we're going to have 18 engineers in the room trying to figure out what our vision is. And I said, how are we going to do this? And we went through it, and it was an amazing experience with what we did. And every owner was on the same page. And part of our vision, we have bold steps. And one of the bold steps that we did was defining great place to work. We said, even though our vision is great place to work, we as 18 people within a room can't define that for the rest of the company, for the other 80 people or so.
Yes.
So part of our vision is making sure we're listening to everybody else as to what is a great place to work. And I will do one-on-one the walk and talks, and just get some feedback of what people think a great place to work is. And part of that initial feedback was flexibility in work schedule, and that's where we came up with our DTO policy.
Anything else that came up from those that either surprised you or was unique?
You know, there's a few other ideas that we're working on right now. One person said, you know what, I want to learn more about what everybody else does in the company. I want to shadow people. And we never really thought about that, but that's a great idea. How do we create a program where either new employees or you know, people that have been there a long time and say they work in admin or marketing, and how do they know what the mechanical engineers do?
Right.
Let's go shadow them. Go to a job site, a project, and see what's happening.
That's an incredible thing. For us, you know, our team has to work so cohesively, but we have these 5 unique departments, and so we talk about it as the wheel. That, you know, each sector of the wheel is equally important to making sure that our parties go off well, but they all do a different job. And so if you take anyone out of them, our parties don't go. If we don't have culinary team, we don't have any food. If we don't have a sales team, we don't have any events. If we don't have the equipment, we're not having a party. The truck's not even, you know, going to the event. And so all of these things, part of it is understanding that everybody has a different job that's equally important to making sure that our end result is great. But that light that you can shine into, here's what that takes. And it's been great for us. So I love the fact that
it really breaks down the silo walls too.
Yes.
I also think it fosters a lot of respect between your team members as well, which is something I know when I hear exactly what IT does, right? I'm like, those are the guys that fix my email when I get spammed, right? They do so much more than that. And so when I get an insight into their job, I have way more respect for them as a team.
And more patience as well.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. All right. So listening to those people, I love that. Did you do anything else in terms of rollout, or is this kind of a slower process that you're, you know, as you're focusing and taking on these initiatives? What's kind of been your approach to the rest of the team?
Yeah, the rollout, you know, what we've experienced in the past with things like this is you announce it once and there it is. Let's see what happens. We've learned our lesson there. So we're continually talking about it. We have monthly birthday parties where we talk about what we're doing with Great Place to Work. We have ownership meetings every 2 weeks where we talk about what we're doing with Great Place to Work. So we're always updating and keeping people involved. We're getting people involved. If they want to help on this initiative or that initiative, that they can step up and help with that. But it's all about the communication and the constant communication with clarity that makes it happen. And it's got to be front and center. And part of my job is making sure it is front and center and that we are keeping it front and center, regardless of all the other noise that happens day to day, because there's a lot of noise out there that happens. We have to remember, why are we doing what we're doing?
And it's very easy to get caught up in the busy.
It's very easy to get caught up in the busy.
And use that as an excuse.
Yep.
And we've got customers, and we got these things to deal with. We can't focus on this today. I say that too. That's probably the most valuable lesson I've learned with culture. It's not something that you just do and achieve at some point and then set it and forget it and walk away. It's something that you have to talk about all the time. That you have to be constantly thinking about, and how is it going to be modified, and how is it going to be improved, and what are you going to do next. But it's in my opinion probably the hardest part about working on culture.
Yeah, and we've got a good group of people that really part of their job is to make sure we are doing these things and that we are communicating, and that when the new ideas come up that we implement them and just keep moving forward with that.
And I love that, holding them accountable. I mean, you have some incredible, you were telling me about the Halloween costumes, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell that story, because I think that's amazing.
So, this just started a few years ago, and actually we used to do a chili cook-off. It was the anniversary of the company right around that time frame. So we'd do a chili cook-off, and then it was probably 2 or 3 years ago where we started doing a Halloween contest and just costume contest, and people would dress up as whatever. Last year, they wanted me to dress up as Gru, and I had my minions around, and it was
Love that
it
you
was
went
just
with it.
It was a lot of fun, and people do a lot of different things, and we get all the offices involved. So we have 2 offices in Florida, and you get them dressing up, sending in their photos, and Colorado Springs sending in their photos, and we're dressed up for the whole day, and your clients coming in or whatever, and you just see people dressed up as whatever.
But it didn't start that way, right? The first year you rolled it out, you had trouble getting traction in one of the offices?
Yeah, in our Colorado Springs office, I think had one person that was dressed up, and and this year they had a lot of people that were dressed up.
But that was largely in part because of your team that rallied around that and embraced them. You were talking about that you kind of identified there was one person, and I just think that's a great story of so many companies would give up at that point and say, oh, they don't care, one person dressed up, why are we even bothering? But instead of just sloughing it off, you kind of wrapped your hands around it and said, okay, what's the issue here? How do we help them aspire to do this and make it feel comfortable?
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier today. Part of that is the courage that it takes to do it, and the courage to do it again.
Yes.
And from a leadership point of view is, you do it, so you just show, hey, it's okay.
Yes.
I'd like to dress up as Chewbacca, and I've got the Chewbacca mask, and I roar,
No, and that's what it's all about. They see your involvement. You're not just saying, oh, this is for everybody else. I'm part of it. And you're wrapping your arms around every department and saying, hey, join us in this initiative.
Yep.
Yes, well, I love that the True and Honest Relationships allowed you to be Groot last year, and you'll get to be Chewbacca this year, maybe.
Yeah, I think I may have to find something else. They're getting tired of the Chewbacca. So
we'll see what you come up with.
Yeah.
Maybe we can come up with something for you on the break. We will be right back here on Connect and Collaborate. Again, we have David Hughes, President of BCER Engineering, and Anthony Lambatos with Footers Catering. Be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube page while you're here. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Connect and Collaborate. I am Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, doing a little dance here with our intro music. Fascinating conversation that we're having here. Anthony Lambatos of Footers Catering, you always bring me fantastic people, and David Hughes, right on par for the course with everyone else that you brought in. Again, President of BCER Engineering. So we are talking about true and honest relationships, which is actually part of your mission at BCER. And that one's fascinating to me, and we talked a little bit about that. And I like your tagline, not tagline so much as a continuation of you focus on those relationships so that for the happiness of both your clients and your employees, which is very important. I am a firm believer, if your employees aren't happy, your clients are definitely not going to be happy.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can tell.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell when somebody is inspired by what they do and proud and the service you receive. And then, that's obviously near and dear to our heart because we're in the service business. But you see it all over the place. And you can tell when somebody's happy with what they're doing and when they're not. And it makes a big difference.
Oh, it makes a huge difference.
Well, David, let's jump back in because we talked about what you've kind of done at BCER, your focus, where you've wanted it to go. What are some of the keys to recruiting people? Because I think one of the hot topics here in Colorado specifically and Denver is just such a tight job market. So what are you doing to recruit great people?
It is really a tight job market right now. And, it's the recruiting part. What we've changed in the last few years, I would say, is the interview process and how we get to know people. And, previously, 10 years ago, you would recruit on the skills of a person. Are they a good engineer? Do they know how to do a project? Blah, 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 blah. And what we found now, and we still look for that. You obviously have to be qualified to do your job. But we start asking questions around things that are important to us within our mission or our brand promise, and we have an internal message which we call a brand promise of making life easier through powerful possibilities. And regardless of who you're working with, whether you're working internally with somebody or you're working with a client, are you making their life easier? And underneath that, we have what we call our stools, or the legs of the stool, of quality care and expertise. And we have some definitions of what those mean to us. And we ask people in the interviews how that relates to them. And so you go through your regular questioning of, do you know how to do electrical engineering or whatever, but then you start asking some of these mission and vision questions and how that relates to somebody, and you see how they answer those questions. And you ask them those questions that there is no right answer, but you see how they answer them.
And you're getting people that are aligned with your culture. And that's what I love about this. I think too many times we focus too much, like you said, on the can you do the job skills and not enough on who are you as a person? And are you going to have what it takes to succeed here and really be part of the culture and what we're building?
You look for those little tidbits that they may be on the resume or they may not be on the resume. And I'm thinking back to a story of one gentleman that we interviewed. It's been many years, but this falls right into that example. And at the bottom of his resume, he had that he ran the Nike Women's Marathon in California or something like that. And I'm like, tell me about this Nike Women's Marathon that you ran, and how did you get in? And he started saying, well, it was to raise money for cancer and all that, and he was doing it as a fundraiser, and that was the marathon that he picked. And but you get those interesting stories of the person more than just the engineer that sort of clues you into how they will fit into the culture.
So did he dress like a woman to get in, or was it?
I think he probably wore shorts and a t-shirt, so he dressed like every other runner out there.
Just fit right in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. We have a exercise we do at Footers where we have a deck through my tribe of cards with values on it, and has our some of our just all the different words that you could come up with, and we ask people to go through them and pick out the 5 that most pertain to their life. And then we usually will do a whole interview just based on those cards.
Wow.
Why did you pick this? Where does this show up in your life?
I may steal that idea.
Yeah, I'll get you one. I know.
Well, I think we can make our own deck. But,
you need the My Tribe deck.
I need the My Tribe deck.
Yes.
Are they for sale? I think you can.
Yeah, I know a guy.
You know a guy.
For you, I got a good price. But yeah, so I think that's great. Anything else you're doing to, the interview process? I love that you're looking at it, especially, with such a tight job market, companies tend to go the other way, where, they make their process easier, or loosen widen the the expectations of what will take to get somebody in. And I think it's cool that you've gone the other way and said, no, we're going to actually be more stringent about what we want and really go after the cream of the crop.
Yeah, you really have to be careful, especially when you're thinking about culture. And I've always been challenged by interviews sometimes, because I'm a type of person that when I first meet somebody, they are a great person to me, regardless. So I could easily be sold in an interview. And oftentimes I don't do interviews by myself. We'll have a few other people in there so I can get their feedback. But as soon as you hire somebody that just is not a cultural fit, it can be toxic pretty quick.
Oh, yes.
And could put you in a tough situation. So yeah, you have to be more deliberate about that.
We've made that mistake in the past, and it's devastating. And it's unbelievable how quickly so much goodwill can be undone. I mean, it's kind of I use the analogy of, you can tell the truth 150 times, but if you lie once, all that's for naught, right? Yep. And so the same thing happens. You can do all these acts of great things in terms of building culture, and you put one bad decision, one bad person in there, and a bad apple spoils the bunch.
Yes.
You're spot on. Talk a little bit about retention. So once you get them, what are some of the keys that you feel like your company's been successful at retaining people?
Yeah, I think a lot of the policies that we're putting in, the flex policies, the DTO, discretionary time off policies, the opportunity to really grow in your career, and we're being very deliberate now about mentoring, and part of our Great Place to Work, we have what we call Great Place to Work University, which can be technical training, can be business type of training, leadership training, but it's giving people the opportunity to grow. And I think as long as you have that opportunity to grow, people really like that. If they can have that freedom in a sense to be to do what they want to do and really take it to the next level. And some people are really happy at just doing the job that they have. And you respect that. And other people want to move from, coming in as a drafter, and they want to go out and get an engineering degree and get licensed and become an engineer, or they may want to be a project manager one day.
Right.
So we create those paths for people to grow within the company.
And I love that you're personalizing it. You're taking it and saying, what's important to you? Are you good here, or do you want this? Is this something that appeals to you? And I think that, in the workplace of the future, I think we're going to see more and more of that, where when it comes to benefits, when it comes to programs, I think it's, kind of like a a la carte menu of like, what's important to you? Is flex time important to you, or is growth and us investing in your education, or is bringing your dog to work? I mean, just this all these pieces that come together. I think we're starting to realize that even at a company of 100 employees or more, it doesn't have to be everyone's treated the exact same.
Yeah, we often talk about meaningful relationships and meaningful projects work,
Yes.
and part of that, bringing meaning to work, we also try to do things in addition to just working. Outside activities. We did Wish for Wheels one year. We do a fire hose race that raises money for Children's Hospital every year, and we get people involved with those type of activities. And when they have that meaning behind the quote-unquote job, that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, meaning as it pertains to the work you do. Because I think that there's some interesting factors of here's an engineering firm, and talk a little bit about how you approach, let's take one step back. Talk about what BCER does, and then, what's your approach to what that is and how you contribute to the projects you're part of.
So when we say engineering, a lot of people just sort of turn their mind off. But engineering, what we engineer are building systems. So we work with architects and contractors, and we're doing all the systems within a building, the electrical systems, the mechanical HVAC systems, the plumbing systems, the low voltage systems. We do all that. We design all that. And what I talk to people about is, you sit at your desk all day, you're designing at a computer, you may be interacting with an architect or a client, but you may not know what you're actually doing. And there's hundreds of buildings within Denver that we have our handprint on or our fingerprints on. And I tell people to go to those buildings, go to the groundbreakings, go to the grand openings, go to those things and see the community. If we're doing a police station, we did the Parker Police Station many years ago,
Yes.
and you go to the grand opening of that Parker Police Station, and you may be in the back of the crowd as the engineer, and you're not recognized. They'll recognize the contractor, the architects, but you just see the meaning that it has on the community, and you see the people. Obviously the police department's down there, but you see the community that it impacts, or a school or a hospital, and you see the community that it impacts, and it really brings meaning to what you do for yourself. Not only do you see the physical building, but you see how it impacts the community.
It's so important for people to understand why their work matters.
Yeah.
And so I applaud you for doing that and for encouraging them and tying the whole project together, because you're right, you're one part of this huge project, and that could be looked at two different ways of like, hey, we were a big part, like it doesn't happen without us, or we just did the electrical and the engineering piece.
Yeah,
of
and you
this.
can get lost in your day-to-day staring at the computer and the issues, the back and forth, the ebb and flow of a project, and you're working on it for 3 months or 9 months, and then you see it at a grand opening and how it impacts people you had no idea you would touch.
Yeah. That's so cool, and awesome that you're taking that step to make sure that your team understands and that you appreciate what they've done to create this. Not even just building a building, but when you talk about community, that's impactful. This makes a difference to not just whoever's going to be in it, but the people all around it too.
Yep,
that's really cool.
We used to do, or we do a lot of work for hospitals, and there's one specific hospital in town where we were part of the team. We were out there for 6 years, and basically we felt like we were part of the hospital staff, early on in the project, and it really brings meaning to what you're doing when you're there on site and having that impact. And a lot of people don't get to see that within our industry. So if you can go out and see the projects, it will make
What hospital was that?
That was University Hospital.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's a pretty big one.
You
Little one out in Aurora.
Yeah, congratulations. That's phenomenal. So let's transition a little bit and talk about leadership. And this is another thing that I admire about you, David, is your commitment to growing yourself as a leader. And we, have been fortunate to do some work together through the Colorado Thought Leaders Forum on this leadership growth experience and where we've gone. And the thing that jumps out right away to me is you're somebody that, historically you've said it yourself, like, hey, I wasn't necessarily always the one that was outgoing or that would speak up or even thought of myself as a leader. And yet you've evolved into the president of a company of 100 people. It's pretty remarkable. Talk a little bit about that journey for you.
Yeah, you're right. I've never, my journey, I've always been focused on whatever job I was doing, but moved up the ranks, and I've never been that single point leader, and I think that's sort of how we've created our leadership now at our company, where I'm a big fan of Patrick Lencioni and his book The Advantage, and I've created a leadership team of there's 7 of us on the team that pretty much touches everything within our company, and we meet daily, and I do have to apologize that I am missing their call right now, but every day at 4 o'clock we meet and we talk about what's going on in the company. So, and as I said, we have 4 offices over 2 states. It's hard to track that, and it's hard for one person to just sort of be the controlling factor of that. So we've created this leadership team that does that. And I have to tell you a little secret, Anthony. On our leadership team, I have 2 past presidents of companies. We've acquired 2 companies over the years, and those presidents of those companies are part of my leadership team. So
Wow, yeah.
we've got 3 presidents in our company, in a sense,
Yeah.
or 3 people that are qualified to be presidents, and then we have everybody else on the leadership team that really. So it's a team approach that really drives the company.
That's again, your humbleness coming through. but I think that's such a great attribute that you have that ability, because I see myself in some of the same light of trying to bring people together and not necessarily being the dictator that says do this, but like, how do we bring people together and utilize their strengths and trust them to do the job that they
and trust. You hit on trust right there, and that's a key part of it, is trusting. And I always say with our leadership team, any one of us on that leadership team can make a decision and the others will support it. And it's a great relationship. It takes time to build that, but it is a trusting relationship. And it's not, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. And,
Sure.
and there are times where we have tough discussions, but in the end, we all respect each other and trust each other.
Yeah. So as you look at your journey, what and where you've gone with your career, what do you think the most impactful thing has been for you in your development as a leader?
The most impactful thing, that's a tough question. I've just, I don't know. I'm trying to think what's I would say the biggest impactful thing for me, my dad owned his own company, just like you.
Yeah.
And seeing him lead a company really had a big impact on me. And I think, and actually we talked about the looking after the employees. That was one of his mantras that he had. And this was back in the 70s, and this was back before Herb Kelleher and Southwest Airlines. And he said, you look after the employees first and everything else works out. And that was, it used to be client is number one, the customer is number one. And he said, look after the employee. So I would say that was probably one of the things that really sits deep inside of me that helped formulate where I am today.
Sure. And so the work that you're doing now on becoming a better leader, talk a little bit more about that.
Well, as you know, we're part of Colorado Thought Leaders Forum, and we've been going through an 8-week leadership growth experience, and I actually went through that last summer also. And the work we've been doing with Colorado Thought Leaders Forum it's really a mind shift in how you look at leadership and how you look at who you are, how do you show up, and what impact do you have. And that's been a huge influence in how I approach leadership day to day.
And going through this experience a second time, what was different the second time for you?
The second, it's a totally different group, and a lot of what we do in that group dynamic affects everybody else. And but you pick up tidbits each time, and it's almost like kids. You have 2 kids, and you think they're going to be the same, but no, they're totally different. So these 2 groups were totally different. Yeah.
And so, for your experience, where do you think you've advanced?
I think I'm going to use a geeky engineering thing.
Go for it.
I took calculus in high school, and I retook it in college.
Okay.
And it helped so much the second time. Because I could understand it. And so I think doing the leadership growth experience this year versus last year, I'm able to dive deeper and find more meaning in it. And it's been more impactful and structured a little bit more in my head as to where we're going and what this all means.
And so where are you, when you think about yourself as a leader, what are your aspirations?
For me is with the company that we have right now is creating that culture where everybody can succeed and where people can grow the way they want to grow. And for me, I'm looking 10 to 15 years out, and then turning over to that third generation and have that be in a good place at that time.
And so for you, what do you personally have to do to get there?
I have to ask myself the hard questions every day. And for me, we talked earlier about courage and make those courageous decisions. For me, everything isn't a just coin toss. It's being deliberate about the decision and moving forward. And for me, it's using those leadership skills and having the courage to move forward in creating the space that we want.
And, I love something that you said earlier is, when you're able to do that and act in that way, you get to create an example for everyone else of that it can be done.
Yeah.
And whether they're, comfortable with what they're doing or they're, need a little nudge, I think is what we kind of came up with, that you reflected on some of the times in your life where somebody kind of, maybe you didn't sign up and raise your hand and say, I'll do that or I'll speak up, but somebody gave you a little push and then you stepped into your own potential. Right. I love that you want to bring that to other people. Yeah,
and I think what we talked about was you have to create that greatness for yourself so others can create greatness for themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know for me that's been so impactful through this journey of how do we really focus on who we are, how we show up as a leader, and that balance of focusing on yourself versus focusing on other people, and this kind of dynamic that, can you help other people if you're not in a healthy spot?
Right.
And so those two things kind of, the balance of being a little bit selfish and realizing that, no, if I focus on this, that impact that I'm going to be able to have spans far greater than if I just do it over here and over here.
Yep.
So talk a little bit, you've got a family, you've got, business, you know, a ton on your plate. You're involved with different things in the community. How do you keep up with everything on your plate?
That's a good question. I think we're all in that situation. And again, I'm going to go back to our leadership team and depending on other people and trusting other people to help you out there. Mm-hmm. And you can't do everything yourself, and you have to let go of things and
Yes.
let people do what they're really good at. And we talk a lot about finding your genius and know what other people's genius is and let them do that. And I don't ever want to be that leader, that single point that says everything has to go through me and everything depends on me, and then nobody else think, because I'll make that decision. You create an environment where everybody can think and everybody can contribute and move forward that way.
And I have to give you credit because you show up all in. Every time I've ever been with you, you are 100% present. You're not one of those people that's pulling out their phone, checking what's going on, worried about what's going on, checking emails. When you show up, you can tell you trust your team. Yeah. And I've never met I've met a couple people on your team, but I've never been to your office or seen the work, but I can see through you how much you empower them and trust them. And I think that reflects back to the level of stress. I know you have a ton on your plate, but you never give off this aura of, I have so much going on and I'm so stressed. And
1 minute.
So I think that's great. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, David.
That's a lot of fun.
If people want more information on BCER, where do they go?
Yeah, you can go to www.bcr.com.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yes, you can also find more in the description below on our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe our page while you're here. You can find all of our podcasts at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. Type in Anthony Lambatos, type in Footers Catering. You can find all of our past shows. It has been a pleasure having you both in. Always good to catch up with you, Anthony, and great meeting you. I admire your leadership,
Thank you.
I might come and sneak into your office and see how it really works.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.